Welcome, today's story is full of drama. Like and subscribe to stay updated. Let's get started.
We met at the Brookdale Realty office. She was standing by the bulletin board, looking at pictures of houses for sale. A sales agent soon appeared and guided her into a small office, addressing her as Miss Lawson. I couldn't help but watch her as she crossed the room. She noticed. Our eyes met briefly before she turned to shut the office door. Her appearance was distinctive. She had a vintage, almost hippie vibe, even though that era had faded about 28 years ago. Though I didn't expect to speak with her, she stayed on my mind while I waited. Her outfit looked handmade. Everything except the skirt, which was a bold floral print. The rest seemed hand-knitted, including a small round hat she wore. It was hard to gauge her figure beneath those clothes, but she was tall and had pleasant features. Someone who intrigued me. Someone I felt I'd like to know. I wasn't the type to initiate conversations, but people often approached me first. I looked approachable enough, I suppose. That's why I didn't expect any interaction with her. After a short wait, another sales agent came out, introduced himself, and led me to an office. He explained that single-family homes were out of my price range. Despite having a stable job as an accountant, my lack of a credit history made financing difficult. It seemed renting was my only option for now. As we returned to the reception area, he shook my hand apologetically, saying he couldn't help me. Just then, Miss Lawson stepped out of her office. I overheard her sales agent giving her the same disappointing news. "I'm sorry about this. You wouldn't be interested in half of a duplex, would you? We have a few available, and they're significantly cheaper than standalone houses." "No, I don't think so," she replied. "I wouldn't have any control over who owns the other half, would I? Only if you buy first." "We do have a couple of units available with that option," he said. "May I see what one looks like?" she asked. "Sure. Come back into the office. I have pictures and details." Just then, my salesman turned to me and asked, "Is that something you'd consider?" Honestly, I'm new at this and I hadn't thought to suggest it before. I'd look, but I would have the same concerns as the lady who was looking at them in the other office. "Maybe you would like to look at them together. That would solve some problems for both of you. I'll ask." He knocked on the other office door and stuck his head inside. I was far enough away that I couldn't hear what he was saying, but soon he motioned to me. "Come in, Mr. Reynolds. If you and Miss Lawson see what you like, we can all go view it together." Introductions were made as I entered the office. I met Megan Lawson and she met me, Daniel Reynolds. We did agree on a duplex to look at. It would be the next evening before the realtors could arrange for us to see it. We made the appointment, and as we were leaving the realtors, I asked Megan if we could get to know each other a little more over dinner. "I would like that. You aren't an axe-murderer, are you?" "Nope, I'm not. Not on the first date anyway. Seriously, if you are concerned, call my mother. In the phone book, listed as Diane Reynolds. You don't have any old boyfriends around that are jealous, do you?" "No, I do have a few who I have remained friendly with, though. I can see why. You are quite attractive." "Thank you. You aren't so bad-looking yourself. Where will we be dining?" "There is a little place on Charleston Street, just off Hillview, that I frequent." "Would what I am wearing be appropriate?" "Definitely." This was one of the most expensive places to eat in town. For some reason, I wanted to impress Megan Lawson. Over dinner, I found out more about Megan. Her parents lived in San Francisco, California, and were originally hippies. She confided they still were, living much as they had back in that era. At one time, they had lived in a commune not far from here. Grown up now, Megan had come up to Vermont looking for the places her folks talked about so often. She found a few of the people who were friends of her parents and decided to stay. Megan had just landed a position with a law firm as a paralegal. When I found out where this law firm was located, I burst out laughing. I was only 2 doors away at the accounting firm next door. "Hey, if we buy a house together, we can go to work together. We could alternate driving and save half the cost of driving into town. Where are you staying now?" "A motel near Exit 6. How about you?" "I live in Fairfield with my mother. She has a companion after 4 years of being without my father. He died suddenly from a heart attack, and I think it is time I move out. I hate to cramp my mother's activities." She is relatively young, and although she loved my father, she realizes it is a long time alone if she doesn't find someone to replace him. That's too bad. How long were your mother and father married? 26 years. Why? I asked. Because I have a thing about marriage. I think two people shouldn't be together more than 22 years. My parents are married and fight all the time. I wish they would divorce and start over with someone new. They still have different sexual partners, just as they did when they lived out at Carter's Meadow in Hampton 22 years ago. Maybe they love each other. Love? To me, that is a word that has no meaning. If I have a sexual partner, that is one word I won't want to hear. It is too abstract, just something for writers and poets to obsess over to sell more books. I can see where two people can have an attraction for each other, but it is just a cover for lust that happens between us animals. I disagree. You are entitled to your opinion, but think about it. Look at me. Do you see anything about me to love that doesn't have lust attached to it? I agree with the lust part, but I don't know you yet. Love could come after we are together a while. I doubt it. Okay, say we have sex and you like the feelings that brings to you. Don't you get the same rush with the first bite of a chocolate sundae? After that, the flavor diminishes, and by the time you get to the last bite, you are wondering why you didn't buy the small sundae instead of the bigger one. The joy and flavor just don't stay with you. So, say a particular woman is yours for 22 years. The taste and flavor are gone or severely diminished. Time for a change, wouldn't you say? You're all wrong. What about your parents? Don't you feel any filial love for them? Or how do they feel about you? They must feel love for you. My parents have never said how they feel about me. They made sure I was fed and clothed, paid for my education, and handed me a check to help me find a place to live. What do I feel for them? Well, they gave me life and I'm thankful for that. What am I supposed to feel? I am the same as the rest of the animal kingdom. When I was old enough, I was pushed out of the nest and stopped being nurtured. So I'm thankful, and I said that to them. Let's stop this discussion right here. Someday, Megan, you will change your mind. I doubt it will be me that changes it, though. If you and I hooked up, I would know I would be gone in 22 years. I want more from a woman than that. In the meantime, though, I bet if I offered myself to you for sex, you would take me up on the offer, wouldn't you? Maybe, but as I said before, I don't know you yet. Yes, we did buy the duplex together, 2 bedrooms in each half. It was located in West Haven, which was convenient to our places of work. As we came down Bridgeport Avenue, Megan could pull right into her law office. I had to drive around Garrison Square and Park. I could look across and see where she worked. When we were in her vehicle with her driving, I just walked to work from her car. Megan rushed to furnish her new quarters, whereas I took my time. I was in no hurry, so I just purchased a queen-size bed to sleep on. I was into antiques and reproductions and planned on adding a piece as I could afford it. She was horrified at how I was living and invited me over for meals or to watch television. You wait. I know what I want, and if I can't find it in a reasonable length of time, I will build it. I have all of my dad's woodworking tools, and he taught me a lot about building things. You'll love what my home looks like when I finish furnishing it. Love, you said that word. And now you are using it to describe feelings for an inanimate object. This whole concept just doesn't fly with me. I shrugged, refusing to debate with her. In return for the meals I received from my neighbor during the week, I took Megan out for dinner on a weekly schedule. When I ran out of high-class restaurants in Bridgeport, we traveled to Salem, Massachusetts. Winter came, and I convinced Megan that we only needed one snowblower and that I would use it to clear our driveways, hers and mine. I finally found a 1960s red and white enameled kitchen table and set about building 4 straight chairs to put around it. They were simple, solid, and serviceable. These were painted in the same shade of red as the table, with the fiddlebacks of the same shade of white. I striped the legs and the rungs the same way. They were pretty damned attractive sitting around the table when finished. Hey Megan, I have a place for you to sit at my new old table tonight. Instead of going out, I'm cooking dinner. Mom had given me a cast-iron Dutch oven, which I used to cook the pot roast in. The beef, which was almost done and falling apart, found room for carrots, onions, and potatoes. All went into the pot an hour before it was set on the table. She may not have loved the dinner I prepared, but she sure as the devil liked it. We had traded keys soon after moving in. One September evening, we were in the middle of a terrible thunderstorm when I heard my door being opened. I looked up, and there stood a drenched Megan. She had on a blue t-shirt and her short shorts. The rain made them both transparent. "Daniel, I hate thunderstorms. May I sleep here tonight? I have only the one bed, you know." "I know, and it is big enough for the two of us. Actually, it is time for us to take our lust for each other to the next level. I promise, I won't hate you in the morning either." Megan, before this, had always kept herself well covered, wearing more than one layer of clothing, most usually a light sweater even in the summertime. The rain was cold, so I suggested she take a hot shower to get warm. When she came out with a towel around her, I expected she would slide into bed. That's not what happened, though. She came up to me and dropped the towel, doing a little pirouette. "You like? We have been living side by side for more than a year now, and you have never made a move on me. I thought it was about time. Even when you take me out to dinner, you have never even offered to kiss me. Maybe it's because I don't want to get caught up in something I can't control. I know I can control my lust for you, but what if I fell in love with you? That is something no one can control. You're either chicken or not straight. Which is it? Even if you are not straight, I'll bet I can make the night pleasant for you. I'm straight, and I'm calling your bluff about my being chicken. I have a bad feeling about this, though. But if you're game, then I guess I am too. I just know one of us is going to end up regretting satisfying what you put down as lust." "Huh?" So there was the challenge before me. Her body was exquisite. I was sexually experienced, so it was easy for me to take what was offered. Lust was what animals had for each other, according to Megan, so I was an animal. A thoughtful, loving, caring, but insistent animal that I made breakfast in the morning before Megan appeared. She looked at me speculatively with only the comment, "You're definitely straight." "Thank you, Daniel. I enjoyed last night very much, and as promised, I don't hate you this morning. I'll eat and then I have to get ready for work." It was her week to drive, and I expected some more comments about last night or about the future. I was disappointed. Friday evening, on the way home, she said, "Daniel, you have always been the one to take me out to dinner. I think I should be asking you sometimes. Let's alternate it. They'll take you this week." "Okay, but you don't have to. I want to keep our relationship even, and this would be a way to do it." I wondered about the word relationship but said nothing. I was to learn that Megan had different tastes in food than I did. I was soon learning to like Japanese, Greek, and Ethiopian cuisine. We also began to spend more nights in bed together. Not often, though, and always at her instigation. I remembered our first dinner together and how she said a man and woman shouldn't be together for more than 22 years before changing partners. If I married a woman, I wanted it to be for a lifetime commitment. I also wanted children, and that, to me, meant marriage. Lust was fine, and if all Megan had for me was lust, I would take it when offered. But I felt love trumped lust any time. We had owned our duplex for almost 2 years when Megan said she was coming over to talk. "Daniel, we have been sleeping together off and on for 10 months now. I find it a highly enjoyable experience. So much so, I would like to sleep with you every night. Well, almost every night. We would need time alone, and I think I have figured out the solution. We would sleep together 5 nights a week, but the other 2 we would sleep alone. That is just to keep things in perspective. I probably would go out with a friend, and you could do the same. If we said 5 nights, then you could have a different weeknight and wouldn't be tied to the same schedule as I would have. Let me get this straight. You want to tie me down for 5 nights but keep your options open to go out with another person? What would that be for? Maybe for comparison. So if you found someone you lusted after who was better than me, you would dump me and expect me to be satisfied on your 1 free night, while he would have 5. What do you have, a lust meter that you measure your men against? I had no expectations of ever asking Megan for a lifetime commitment, but I wasn't going to play second fiddle for sex, either. Did I come off looking angry? You bet. Daniel, you have it all wrong. Don't you enjoy having me in bed? I just thought this way our lust wouldn't get stale. You can't be happy being tied down to someone every day and night. Married people do. But then they have to and want to, for they have willingly signed up for a commitment. It holds until they fall out of love or cheat, which in fact would nullify the commitment. No, I'm not making any agreement such as you suggest. If you want to sleep in my bed, you just come over from your side of the house and get in with me. They'll do the same with you, but you have to get a bigger bed than you have for us to play in. In fact, I will construct a frame that will take a king-sized mattress. That's as far as I will go. You'll love it. Oops, I used the word love. I guess we are done here. Go home. Home. You see, yes, I had fallen in love with Megan, but I wasn't going to make any commitments such as she suggested. This way, I could start looking for a woman and love again. Megan was in my bed before midnight. Every night for 5 nights, she slipped into bed with me. I worked in the basement all 5 nights before bedtime, working on the bed I was constructing. The 6th night, I saw her get into her car at about 7:30. She was dressed to the nines. That was a misnomer. She was definitely a number 10. Did I like it? What do you think? Was Megan playing a game? There was no way for me to tell. I was miserable, but my neighbor next door would never know. I did get some relief from my misery. My mother called and told me my cousin, who lived in Colorado, was in town and would be here all next week. Would I come for dinner? I certainly will, Mom. Does Nina still go out evenings? I asked her. She is right here. Hey, babe, do you still hit the night spots like you used to? No, I'm old and settled down now, married too, as you know. Ryan and I hit 5 years of bliss a few months ago. I do still love to dance, though. You could take me out one night this week. Come on up to Fairfield, and we'll hash over old times. How come you aren't married? Anyway, you are certainly handsome enough. No woman has asked me. You know how shy I am. I am attracted to my neighbor, but she isn't into long-term commitments. When I marry, I want someone forever. Being in love and married is the best thing that ever happened to me. I know I was a little wild before Ryan, but not anymore. In fact, I'm 4 months pregnant. But I can still dance if you will take me. They'll be up to see you in less than an hour. We'll make plans. Nina was just as beautiful as ever. My uncle and aunt had lived next door to me when I was growing up, and my cousin and I were inseparable. When I finished high school, I had gone out there and lived with them until my father died, and then I returned to stay with my mother. Nina and I were always best of friends and had even gone on double dates with each other. I knew all about her and she about me. Daniel, run down to Harrison's Market and get some groceries for me. Take Nina with you. Here is the list of what I need. Let's go, babe. We can just make it before the store closes. When we arrived, I sent Nina down to get a gallon of milk while I went to find butter and cheese. I came around the corner and bumped into Megan. Hi, Megan. I saw you go out tonight. You were looking beautiful. Oh, hi, Daniel. What are you doing here? I'm picking up some things my mother needs. Just then, Nina came and put the milk in my cart. Nina, being who she was, reached up and took the grocery list from my shirt pocket and looked at it. Coffee creamer for breakfast is next. Tell me what aisle, and I'll hunt for it. Don't be long, Nina. Wait a minute. This is Megan Lawson, my next-door neighbor. Megan, this is Nina Franklin. We grew up next door to each other. She is here from Colorado, staying with my mother for a week. I haven't seen her since my father died. Before that, we lived in the same house and shared the same bath all the while I went to college. Nina was perceptive and aware that I was trying to make Megan a little jealous. Megan, you live next door to this hunk? Are you ever tempted to go next door to visit late at night? I would if I still lived near him. He was my first, and they say you never forget your first. Oh well, lucky you, living where you do. Nina, the tanned, voluptuous beauty from Colorado with the long dark blonde hair. The first words from Megan were, she had a ring on her wedding finger. Her husband had to go to Germany for a month. Nina is out traveling around the country, looking up old friends while he is overseas. I'll see you Monday. It's my week to drive. I have to go. I walked off, leaving Megan standing behind me. I wanted to turn and look back at her, but I resisted the impulse. As Nina and I made it to where the eggs were, she said, "You're in love with Megan, aren't you?" "Yes." But Megan claims there is no such thing as love. We are all animals and all we feel is lust, not love. I wish I could change her, but I'm not begging for crumbs. Take her to bed. We are sleeping together, but only when she comes over. I'll tell you everything tonight after Mom goes to bed. Before I head home. Why don't you stay at Aunt Diane's tonight? That might get her attention if she cares about you at all. Honestly, I can't see how anyone wouldn't care about you. You're my cousin. And let's not go there, I interrupted. Yeah, let's not, she agreed. But you're lucky you found Ryan. I'm still looking, and I haven't given up on Megan yet, either. Is there anything I can do for you? Maybe you could talk to her before you leave and explain some of the things we both said to her tonight. You know, like, I'm your cousin. I'll do it, just for you. I did go home, but it was 3 hours after midnight. It was 10 a.m. before I got the lawnmower cranked up. I saw Megan watching me out the window as I passed by, back and forth. Usually, she brought me out a cold drink, but not this morning. When I put the mower away, I entered Megan's kitchen to find her sitting at the table, doing a crossword puzzle. The atmosphere was cool, but I ignored it. Megan, Nina is coming over tonight. I'm taking her out for dinner. Would you go with us? You have to be kidding. Won't that cramp your style, to have 2 women who you have had sex with together at the same place and at the same time? I'm positive it won't bother Nina. She is in the past. You're the one I am having sex with now, so I do have a sense of loyalty to you. This woman is in your past. In my past in many ways. But we will always remain friends. And we have another attachment that will never be resolved. Be certain I will never have sex with her. Because of me, partly, and that is between you and me. But there is another reason. Nina will share the reason with you, if you will consider dinner with us tonight. You want me to go? For sure. Megan dressed nicely, and I had on a blazer and slacks. We'll be dining at the Oakwood Inn tonight. Mom will be joining us for dinner, and then we will be returning here to talk. I feel as if I'm being manipulated. Don't feel that way. After dinner, when we return, it will be here in my quarters. All you have to do is get up and go into your place if you are uncomfortable. I want you to get to know Nina, and you already know my mother. Okay, I guess. We came down Riverside Drive and took the expressway to Fairfield. Megan was silent. She thought she was meeting one of my lovers from my past. Mom and Nina were sitting in the inn's parking lot, waiting for us, and we all went in together. Megan, I'm so pleased Daniel brought you tonight. I do so enjoy dining out. My companion couldn't come tonight, so I was free. Bill tells me you have met Nina. Yes, I was introduced while at the grocery store. Hi, Megan. My cousin giggled. I have always wanted to say that to someone. I've been waiting forever to get the chance. You don't mind, do you? No, of course not. I'll call you M then. Who scored in that round? Couldn't tell. Maybe it was a draw. Aunt Diane broke in with, these 2 are only 3 days apart in age. They are almost like twins in how they think and act. It was a sad day when my brother moved away. Daniel missed them so much, he went to school out west so he could live in the house with his aunt and uncle and, of course, Nina. He has as much love for them as he did his father and me. Mom used love in describing how she felt. I could see Megan tense up. Good manners kept her from saying anything. Nina, do you work? I do. I'm a clinical psychologist. I specialize in matters of the heart, broken marriages, etc. I'm taking a few years off from work soon. I'm pregnant and want to give my baby a good start in life by lavishing all my love on the baby while in its infancy. Don't you think that is a wonderful plan? For some people, I guess. I think my parents thought differently. Maybe he'll tell you sometime how I was brought up. We'll have some time tonight, and I'm interested. I won't put on my professional hat, though. I only do that while I'm in my office. That's a relief. When dinner was finished, I hugged Mom and kissed her. Mom surprised Megan by giving her a hug. I'm so glad you are Daniel's neighbor. He talks about you all the time. He is the happiest I have seen him since his father died. You are so good for him. She turned to Nina. Will you be home tonight? No, I'll be staying with Daniel or maybe Megan if we get to be friends. He can run me up before work in the morning. He doesn't have to do that. I have to be in Hartford early. I'll meet you at his office. There was an argument over who would ride in the back seat. Both women declared they should. Both of you get in the back, geez, women. That sent them into gales of laughter. There was a new show that had just come on television called NCIS. The team leader was always clipping one of the other characters in the head to wake them up. I got clipped by both of my passengers. Nina started questioning Megan about her relationship with me. Megan intimated that she didn't have a relationship and didn't really want to talk about us. I had the feeling she might bare her soul better if I wasn't listening. I looked at Nina's image in the rearview mirror and caught her eye. I shook my head and mouthed. Later, when we arrived in West Haven, I said, "I'm working on a project in the basement for a couple of hours. Make yourselves comfortable and get to know each other." I then disappeared downstairs. I became absorbed in building Megan's bed, as I had promised. I was making raised panels for both the head and footboard. I had them all sized and ready to slip into position first. Before that, I was scrolling a design on them with a router. It was noisy, and I was absorbed in what I was doing. I finished the last one and glanced at my watch, 11 p.m. I swept up and headed up the stairs. There was a note on the table. "Sleep in my bed. We are sleeping in yours. Megan and Nina." I could hear the two talking earnestly as I passed by my room. I grabbed my toiletries case from the bathroom and went over to Megan's side of the house. I showered and crawled into her bed. I immediately fell asleep. "Get up. Nina has your breakfast made. I have to get dressed, we all overslept." I stayed just a minute to watch Megan disrobe, which she did provocatively. Nina came out of my room as I was pouring my second cup of coffee. "Megan will be along in a few minutes." I looked up at Nina. "The woman loves you," she said, "but she has been conditioned not to admit there is such a thing as love. It all lies with her parents. Believe it or not, I think her parents love each other, too. They have been together 32 years, 29 of them married. Both have had other partners periodically and fight all the time, but they make no move to split up permanently. I think they hurt each other just to get back at the other and do it without thinking. If some way the cycle could be broken, they would recognize that the love for each other is there, but it is hidden. I just hope they can admit it before one of them dies. The guilt of the remaining partner will be devastating if they don't. Not your problem, really. You have enough to do to get Megan to admit what she feels for you is love. It isn't just love for another person she denies. I don't think Megan ever had a pet or beautiful things that would generate affection. She recognizes lust as a feeling and knows that is not love. I do think our meeting in the store made her jealous. That was a new emotion for her, and she didn't like it. I'll slip it in sometime when I'm talking to her that she had that feeling because she wanted me for her own. Wanted me because maybe she felt love for me and didn't want to lose me. We heard her door close, so we terminated our discussion. I dropped Megan at her office. I drove around and parked in front of mine. Mom was waiting as promised, and I hugged her when I got out of my car. Nina stood talking a minute with me, then she came into my arms for her hug and kiss. Over her shoulder, I could see Megan watching all of this from across the way. I waved, and she whirled and went into her office. I realized what had just happened. It won't do any harm. She's seeing us being affectionate. She'll think about you all day. And if I don't show up tonight, she'll be all over you. Nina, I don't want to hurt her. I hope she does come over. I'm going to make a slip and accidentally tell her I love her. That would work. Tomorrow night, though, I'm going to ask her out to dinner. I'm going to get her thinking about her parents and the way she was brought up. I might even delve into what I think about her parents' lives. Tell her about how heartbroken one of them would be if the other one died. There would be no closure for the remaining spouse. I don't know. I would hate to lose what I have with Megan now. I might lose it all. Daniel, be brave. What you have now won't last, you know that. Go. Mom is getting impatient. I guess I'll just take it one step at a time. I turned away. You do love her, don't you? I waved my hand over my head as I entered my office. No cousin tonight? Megan said as I waited for her to get in the car when I picked her up. No cousin tonight. I want to work on the bed I'm creating for you. Why don't I just go buy a bigger one? A bed is just some place to sleep and recover from the day's work. This pissed me off. We had been having sex on my bed for months. My lips pursed, and I couldn't help feeling just a little hurt. I didn't say anything. Finally, Megan realized something was wrong. She stared at me as she thought over what she had said. You're pissed because I said a bed was just a bed, aren't you? Just a little. Why, For God's sake, let me tell you a little bit about beds. Do you realize there are some beds still surviving since BC? King Tutankhamun's bed is where it can be seen. Nearer our own time, George Washington's bed is on display. The French were great early furniture makers, and their beds are in museums all over the world. When estates were inventoried, the beds were listed first, or nearly so. I know I may not be any great craftsman, but I want to build something for you that you will treasure, and that will be a treasure. I may never sleep in it, but someone you choose to be with will. Maybe he would appreciate a few inanimate pieces of wood where you don't. I am putting all my love into making something beautiful for you because I love you. You know how I feel about you. That is the last time I will say it. I changed the subject. Am I cooking tonight? Or are you? I'm eating alone tonight. You can get to work on your project sooner. When am I going to be able to see this wonderful bed? Anyway, whenever you want. I'm not keeping you away from it. I'll wait. Nina has asked me out to dinner tomorrow night. We'll be dining alone. I'll see you in the morning. I said little in the morning to Megan. My thoughts were on what I was creating. It seemed as I finished one part of the bed, I wanted to add something more. That night, I was going to be working on some small hidden compartments. Nina arrived while Megan was getting dressed. She naturally looked for me in the basement, where I was working on Megan's bed. My God, Daniel, it is beautiful. It is coming out much as I had hoped. Whether Megan appreciates it when I give it to her, I can't tell. Another 2 weeks and it will be finished. If Megan doesn't think it is something special, I'll be moving. I have poured my all into creating this for her. She'll love it. I'm positive. You don't know her like I do. Hey! I can hear her moving around upstairs. Go out and have fun. Keep tomorrow night free for me. I don't know when we will see each other again. I miss you, I miss you too, sweet cousin. I worked until 11 p.m. Then I went to bed. I didn't hear Nina bring Megan home. Megan was waiting in the car in the morning. Thank God Fridays only came once a week. Did you have fun last night? I did. Nina gave me a lot to think about. I thought she would talk about you most of the evening, but she didn't. She questioned me mostly about my father and mother. I know that is what she is trained for, but I got the impression that she thinks I'm all mixed up. Do you think I am? You do have a different slant on life than I do. It's just the way we were raised by our parents, I guess. Megan informed me that she would be visiting her parents for a week. This would give me a chance to finish the bed and move it into her bedroom while she was gone. Friday night, before her return, I rounded up some of my coworkers, and we moved the bed upstairs. The bed made her room look small. I had gone beyond just building the bed. I purchased the best mattress set, and knowing what Megan preferred in color, I had found what I thought she would like for a scheme. It was ready for her when she came home. She didn't sleep in it, though her parents were with her. I had moved her smaller bed into her other bedroom, which was otherwise unoccupied. Her mother, Clara, was coming down with a cold and wanted immediately to slide into bed. Right this way, Mom. Daddy will have to sleep on the couch and I will sleep with Daniel. I was talking to Megan's father after just meeting him while Clara was being shown where she would be sleeping. I heard Clara cough out that the bed was big enough for both her and her husband. Megan came out and looked at me. I see you finished your project and moved it in. Thank you. That was it, no more than just a thank you. I was hurt. I excused myself as soon as I could and returned to my side of the house. I didn't see Megan again that evening. It was about 4 a.m. or a little later when I heard and saw an ambulance pull up to Megan's door. The medics came hurrying out with her mother. They think Mom has pneumonia. Dad is all to pieces, not like him at all. We are going down to Hartford General Hospital and getting her cared for. Is there anything I can do? I don't think so. Not now, anyway. Daniel, thanks for the offer. Father and daughter got into Megan's car and drove away. She wasn't back when it was time for breakfast. I wondered how her mother was. I spent that Saturday raking leaves and building covers for the shrubs. I mowed the lawn for the last time of the season before putting the mower away. It was late afternoon before Megan drove in. How is your mother? Not good. Can go either way for her, Daniel. I have never had anyone close to me get this sick before. Neither has my father. He's a mess and is staying right by her side in the intensive care unit. If Mom dies, I don't know what will happen to him. Why is that? I don't know. I just don't know. Think about it, maybe the answer will come to you. You sound just like your cousin. The night we went out, she told me the same thing. Maybe it's because we think about things the same way. How are you going to feel if your mother doesn't make it? I don't want to be mean, but I am curious. I would miss her terribly. I'm going down this evening and seeing how she is after I shower and clean up. I need something to eat too. I'll make up something. You go clean up. I'll even drive you down and talk to your father for a few minutes. Suddenly, I had a woman in my arms with tears streaming down her face. I held her until she calmed down, and then she went to shower while I prepared a meal for this woman who declared there was no such thing as love. When we went in to see Clara, Grant was sitting beside her. I guess he had been by her side all day. He looked extremely worried and exhausted. Mr. Lawson, let me take you out for a meal. Megan will sit with her mother. You need to get some air and stretch your legs. Okay. But I don't want to leave Clara for very long. I could use a burger, though. A salad would go good too. I took him up the street to Anderson's diner. He needed more but was afraid it would take too long to order and consume. Grant, what does the doctor tell you about Clara? What are her chances? Or can't they tell you? They think she is over the hump. Odds are 60-40 in her favor. It just happened so quick. It's thrown me for a loop. This has really scared me. We've been together a long time. Close? Huh? Yeah. Well, most of the time anyway. We have our problems. She isn't that easy to live with sometimes. Maybe this bump in the road will smooth things out for both of you. She must see how deeply you love her. I know you love her. The way this has hit you. You know, Daniel. She has never said she loves me. I have never said I love her either. I just never knew how, I guess. I think you have a perfect chance right now. I know she is almost comatose, and that can work to your advantage. You are staying with her all night, aren't you? Yes, of course. While you are sitting beside her, whisper that you love her. Say it over and over. Tell her you have 20 or 30 years ahead of you together. Ask her to fight to stay in your life, as you don't see how you could handle life without her. Grant looked at me as if I was crazy, but after being silent for a few moments, he realized just how lonely it would be without Clara. Megan tells me you both go off and have affairs with others. Is that necessary for you or just something to get even when Clara does? I haven't done that for 10 years. Clara thinks I do, but I don't. Do you know for certain if she does the same? I don't know. She goes out once a week with kind of a smirky smile on her face. Years ago, I would see her out with another man occasionally. I'm assuming she still does. It hurt me to see her out like that, so I always stayed at home or went where I knew I wouldn't run into her. Grant, I would guess it has been years since you have romanced Clara. It is never too late. This is the perfect time to start. She is vulnerable right now. Just don't make any statements or promises that aren't true or that you can't keep. This may be difficult to start, but once you do, you will feel the love flowing both ways. You give me hope, son. I just can't lose her. Let's go back to the hospital. We have been gone long enough. When we went into the room, Megan looked at her father. Mom opened her eyes and asked for you, Dad. I told her you would be back in a few minutes. She smiled and went back to sleep. Her color is a little better, don't you think? I think she does seem a little better. Megan, why don't you get Daniel to take you out for a drink for an hour or so? I need to be alone with your mother. Now that I know she has asked for me, maybe she will soon wake up again. We went into a small bar just off Main Street and ordered drinks. While waiting for them to be brought, Megan asked what her father and I talked about. I just questioned him about his feelings for your mother, that's all. She was waiting for more. You must have done more than ask a few questions. You probably gave him some crazy advice about love and all that crap. Probably. It won't work. Maybe not. Your father just needed some reassurance. Anyway, he looked more in control when we came back. Didn't he? Yes, he acted calm. He also acted as if he didn't want me there and as if he needed to be alone with Mom. Let's go back and stay with him now. Grant looked up as we came in. Good, you're back. Clara was awake for a few minutes. She told me to go and get some rest. The nurse gave her some medication and said she would sleep most of the night now. She isn't in as much danger now, although not out of it entirely. I think I will stay, though. You two go home. Okay, Dad. I guess that would be best. When she wakes up, tell her I'm thinking of her. I'll be in the morning. Megan was mostly silent on the way home. When we arrived, we were both tired. Daniel, we get to try out the bed you made. It is very attractive. You know, I didn't say much before, but it is. It is awfully big for the room. Though Dano, I'm sleeping in my own. You sleep in it if you want. You should make it up fresh from when your mom was in it. Do you need a hand? No, I can do it. I'll see you in the morning. She looked as if she wanted to say more, but I was in my door before she could speak. Megan didn't know it, but I wasn't going to sleep in the bed until I heard the word love from her lips. I made the bed to make love in, not just for sleeping or for sex. Megan went into the hospital early Sunday to see how her mother made it through the night. I went in myself just before noon. I took Grant out for lunch. He was so happy. Clara had roused up about 4:30 a.m. He had been following my directions. Clara asked for a kiss when she realized I was still in the room with her. After that, we talked for an hour before she was too tired to continue. She confessed she hasn't been seeing any other men for more than 10 years. Words of love came from her after saying this. She said she had to tell me and wished she had said so years ago. I did all you said. I think me talking, even while she was sleeping, gave her the courage to tell me the same. Now, what can I do for you to show my appreciation? What I wish for is for Megan to tell me she loves me. I think she does, but I need to hear it. She claims there is no such thing as love. I know there is, and I think you do now. Megan doesn't know it, but I have to be out of town for the next 2 weeks. I'm an accountant, and my firm has taken on the job of straightening out some books for a business that had some money embezzled. I took the job because I need to get away from Megan for a few days. I think Clara will get out of the hospital within the week. You and Clara will be staying at least that long with Megan after she comes home. I'd like it if you slept in my side of the house. Encourage Megan to sleep in the big empty bed by herself. Also, she has never had a pet. Would you go down to the shelter and get her a puppy? See if they have a golden retriever or a Gordon setter. If they have neither of these, you could get a yellow lab. All of these breeds are affectionate. You're going all out for my daughter, aren't you? In the meantime, she's going to see so much love between her mother and you. Some of it has to rub off on her. I'll do it, and gladly. I announced to Megan that I would be out of town for the next 2 weeks, and possibly more. I'm sorry I can't be here while your mother is sick. She should be home by Wednesday if she continues to improve. I've asked your father to stay in my half of the house to take care of anything that comes up. You're going to be gone. Daniel? I haven't seen hardly anything of you in the last few weeks. I was on vacation, and then Mom got sick. We also haven't had a chance to have sex. I know that. Come along to bed with me. That would keep the fires dampened down and should last as long as I'm gone. Don't you want to sleep in the new bed with me? Not tonight. I have to get up early in the morning to be on my way. I can do that best in my own bed. Megan followed me into my side of the house, showered, and slid under the covers, waiting for me. Megan was just as demanding, but I could feel something else. She was thinking of my desires a little more than usual rather than just her own. Daniel, I wish you weren't going away. I have come to depend on you so much. You have been awful good about talking to my father. He seems to have changed toward my mother as well. She is different, too. I can't understand it well. I'm sure you will figure it out. Hey, I have to sleep. I have almost a 2-hour drive in the morning, and I have to find quarters to stay in when I get there. Daniel, thank you. Thank you for being you, is what I'm trying to say. I'll just snuggle as close to you as I can. You let me know where you're staying by calling me this evening. Okay? Can do. Hi. I promised I would call. I was waiting to hear from you. I know you are in Shelburne. What is the street address? I gave it to her. How is your mother? She is much better. She sends her love. You know, when she said that, I went over and put my hand on her brow to see if the fever had returned. I have never heard her send love to anyone. In fact, I don't think I have ever heard her say that to Dad. Just a word that has come late to her vocabulary, right? I guess so. They acting strange, too? Christ, they act as if they are rehearsing for a play or something. How do you feel about the way they are acting? I don't know. It is like I'm on the outside looking in. Something is different. I don't think I like it. Enough of them. Are you sure you have to be gone 2 whole weeks? Dad is sleeping here, but you aren't. The house is pretty empty without you. I know the feeling. I felt like that when you were away on vacation. Hey, I'm gonna hang up now. I promised my coworkers I would meet them at the nearest bar for a drink. I don't drink much, so I hope they don't get me into any drinking games and I end up doing anything foolish. Daniel, you won't be riding with anyone that is drunk, will you? No. Carol said she doesn't drink at all, so she is driving. Who is Carol? She is a real nice lady. Just a little older than I am. I've known her for a while. We dated a couple of times. That was right after she and her husband divorced. I think her husband was crazy to let her get away. She is just a nice lady. Bye for now, Megan. Oh, do you want me to call you tomorrow night? Yes, I wish you would. You will have to tell me all about your evening with your friends. Okay. Good night, Megan. Good night, Daniel. I heard a lot of sadness and loneliness in the last exchange. I waited until 8 p.m. the next evening before I called. Hi, Megan. Oh, Daniel, I was afraid you weren't going to call me. It was getting late. I said I would call. How is your mother? She is coming along fine. She will be coming back here tomorrow. She is that much better. Dad says he is going to sleep with her, so I guess I will be using your bed. That is okay. Isn't it? Sure. We have had some good times in it, and the bed must remember. That's silly. Of course. I miss my own bed too. Daniel, did you sleep alone last night? I suppose it is none of my business, but I did think of you. You made this big, beautiful bed for me, and you haven't slept in it once. It is calling for you. You're the one being silly now. Beds can't talk. Well then, I'm calling for you. Dad and Mother are acting stranger than ever too. They have even discussed renewing their wedding vows. It is almost sickening to watch them. I'm kind of mad about some things too. All of these years, they never showed much affection for each other, going their separate ways. And now, all of a sudden, it's like they are teenagers again. You would think with all of the different partners they have had over the years, they wouldn't have so much lust for each other. Could be, it is more than lust. What is it, then? Defined is when young people are attracted to each other. Oh, I know, it is something called puppy love. Maybe they missed that period in their lives, and it is coming late to them. I suspect, though, theirs will be of a more lasting variety than puppy love. You're telling me they are in love, aren't you? Ask your father. I bet he will be apologizing for something he and your mother didn't teach or explain to you when you were a teenager. Daniel, you haven't told me about last night. Did you sleep with Carol? I mean, you are a pretty nice guy, and most women would want to hook up with you. I don't think I'm going to answer that question. You've always maintained you have the right to hook up with anyone when the mood strikes. Shouldn't I have the same right? You say there isn't anything called love. I'm telling you there is, and it is what I want. I want someone to live with and to love for the rest of my life. I'm still searching, although I do have a couple of prospects. Daniel, I don't want you to sleep with Carol. I know, from what I have said before, I don't have the right to ask this of you. I have never felt about anyone the way I feel about you either. Is this the love you keep referring to? It very well could be. There are 2 sides to this love business, though. You say you don't want me in a relationship of any kind with Carol. That's fine, and I could promise not to get into one. Just because I think a lot of you and want to make you happy. Maybe because I even love you. I then have given up the freedom of choice because I want to, and you have trusted me to do it if I promised. The flip side of love is you would have to do the same in a like instance. Could you do that? A person can lust after another, but if he or she is in a committed, loving relationship, lust and giving into it is not an option. It is an easy option for me to follow anyway, because love transcends lust every time. You're making the idea of love very difficult for me. It is so different from what I have known. How would I know I was in love for sure? You would have to look inward to find the answer to that. If you think you are in love with a person, there would be no question but what you were first in that person's heart. By the same token, you would know he was first in your heart, above all else. Let's say I have declared that I loved you before I had to leave for 2 weeks. Say you declared you love me at the same time. We have then committed to a loving relationship. When I arrived and we talked the first night, I might say I was going out with my coworkers, and there was a Carol who I had dated who was going to be with us. If you loved me, you wouldn't have a doubt about me being true to that love, because I had said I loved you. By the same token, if you said you loved me and an old flame showed up unexpectedly and wanted a place to stay, if I loved you, I would say he could sleep on the couch even though I wasn't there. Our love for each other and the faith in it would hold us true to each other. Megan, discuss this with your parents. Ask them about the relationship they have had up until the time your mother got ill. Then ask them what has changed. That's enough about that. It is late and I have a hard day tomorrow. Do you want me to call tomorrow night? You have to, Daniel, because I miss you so much. Excited? Huh? Yes, but it is more than that. And I think you have explained why. Good night. Daniel.it was 6:45 p.m. the next evening. I was riding with Carol and returning to my motel. My car was parked in front of room number 7. Megan was just leaving the motel office, and I assumed she had inquired about my room. She was just about to knock when I came up behind her. Would you give a lonesome guy a kiss? I got my kiss, then another, and a couple of hugs. Hey, Megan, come over to the car. I want you to meet Carol. Megan approached my coworker with some uncertainty. Carol was from a different office, so I didn't see her that often, and Megan, of course, had never met her before. Carol was a heavy-set woman, about 55 years old. You must be Megan. Daniel talks about you so much, we're about ready to ship him home. I hope you're staying the night so we can finish the audit on time. He is homesick, I do believe. It isn't home, but it's you he is sick for. Megan smiled all over. I wish he would share that fact with me. He has been kind of cool toward me lately. Carol was a smart lady. Maybe he wants you to be as sick for him as he is sick for you. Hey, I'm gone. You two don't need me around. Now don't spend all night talking. Take some time for doing. Megan never said a word as she advanced on Carol. Carol got a hug and received a few happy tears. I'll get him fired up tonight, and you watch him work tomorrow. I held the door open for her, and Megan took me across the room and landed on top of me, crashing onto the bed. Mister, you have a lot of explaining to do. Do you know how much I worried about Carol? I didn't lie to you. I have taken her to dinner several times. She is divorced, and she is a great lady. I was grinning from ear to ear. Now, what brings you to my humble abode? Megan turned serious. Mom is home. She is still weak, so she went right to bed, your bed, by the way. We three talked about love all afternoon. I made the decision at 4 p.m. and here I am. I drove like hell getting here. I'm glad all of the cops were in the diner somewhere. I came up here to tell you, I love you. I guess I have always loved you and was too stupid to know it. You sorted it out for my parents, and you have sorted it out for me. She looked at me, waiting. Well, say something. You sang, I love you. Do it again. Certainly. Would you know what? I'm about ready to fly with happiness. I have gotten more expressed love from my parents today than I have received in my whole life before this. I just had to come up and tell you. So, where are we going with this? You could kiss me, but then, I suppose that would lead to something else. Have you eaten yet? You must be hungry. Daniel, I'm hungry for you. For once, I received everything I wanted from Megan. Before this, I had her physical love, but now, I had her heart to go with it. I went home for the weekend. I hadn't planned on doing so, but Megan begged me to come down. How can you refuse someone who has just realized she loves you? We did christen the bed. Now you be good, Daniel. This bed talks to me and tells me it was made for love, and it isn't for people to act like animals. How times change. Megan called me Wednesday evening. Daniel, I dropped some change when I was in the bedroom, and it rolled under the bed. I got under the bed to get it. When were you going to tell me you left a message scratched into the headboard when you constructed my bed? What message? The heart carved with our names on it. It says, Daniel loves Megan. I want a heart that says Megan loves Daniel someplace on the bed. Do you love me? You know I do. We will do it together when I get home. There is a place for it, beside the heart already there. I'll be all done here on Friday. I also have something I want to ask you. Ask me now. Nope, it is too soon. You have only loved me for a week. Daniel, I have loved you for the last 2 years. I just didn't know that what I was feeling for you was love. What I am going to ask is too serious a matter for me to do over the phone. Why don't you get us dinner reservations at the New England house? That would be a nice setting. Maybe you would like to have your mother and father present as well. Mom and her companion should be there too. Is that a plan? A great plan. I wish Nina could be here. I'm going to call her just as soon as I get off the phone with you. She said one time it would be a sad world if no one ever said love to me. I argued that love was just something for the poets. I want to tell her I was wrong. Daniel, I love you so much. Megan, I love you. The night at the New England house felt like something out of a dream. I couldn't believe how quickly things had changed. Just a few weeks ago, I would never have imagined standing here, holding Megan's hand, preparing to ask the most important question of my life. As the conversation flowed around us, I kept sneaking glances at her. She looked radiant, happier than I'd ever seen her. I was nervous, sure, but the way she smiled at me made everything else fade away. I knew deep down that this moment had been coming for a long time. I had just been too blind to see it. When I finally stood up and held her hand, I could feel my heart racing. Everyone at the table turned toward us, the air suddenly thick with anticipation. Megan, I began, my voice steady but full of emotion. For almost 2 years, you've been more than just a friend to me, more than someone I care about. You've been the person I didn't realize I was waiting for. Now, I don't want to waste another second not telling you how much you mean to me. Megan, will you marry me? For a second, she just stared at me, her eyes wide. Then, as her lips curved into that familiar, beautiful smile, she whispered the word I had been hoping to hear. Yes. Our families erupted in applause, but all I could focus on was her. In that moment, nothing else mattered. We were finally on the same page, finally ready to build a future together. After dinner, we took a walk outside. The cool evening air brushed against us, and Megan leaned into me as we walked. You know, she said softly, if you had asked me a week ago if this would happen, I would have laughed. But now I can't imagine life any other way. Neither can I replied, pulling her closer. It's funny how life works. We spent years walking side by side, and it took us this long to realize where we were heading. We stood there under the stars, silently taking it all in. For the first time in a long while, everything felt right. There was no more doubt, no more wondering, just us. Two people who had finally found what they had been looking for all along. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And now we were ready to write the next chapter together. That's how Megan and Daniel found love. Can love grow even if one person doesn't see it at first? Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.